LegacyMaker, the all sports network, presents a SIRTOBA Media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over.
Hello everyone, we are syndicated with another installment of the In or Out Sports Debate, Volume 1, Episodes 1 through 5. Myself, Drew Willingham, hosting with special guest, Robb Johnson. Enjoy.
I brought up NASCAR in this past topic as well, and do you think that NASCAR has been keeping sports alive throughout this pandemic of the coronavirus?
I'm going to say out on that. I think it's more of life support. If you really look at Sunday night, for example, after the removing of the Confederate flag, after all the things that we saw, etc., they were still beaten out by 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes had 7.8 million viewers. NASCAR from the 7 o'clock slot to 10 o'clock only had about 2.48 million. And Celebrity Family Feud in that same time frame had about 5.25. So, I mean, it's a good story right now, and I think NASCAR is really coming up. But they're facing a lot of problems here coming in the future because of the fact of they're going to have some resistance from some of their fans. So I think I'm going to have to be out on that, but it's a partial 50%. I'm really close to going in, but I had to go out because, if they really capture the heart of America, then their numbers would be so sky high, it would be ridiculous. So unfortunately, I have to stay out.
I'm kind of 50-50 on this. You brought up some good points on that, but I'm kind of 50-50 on this because with the whole iRacing that they had leading back to the point to where they were at the track, I don't know if it saved sports in general. That's why I'm 50-50 on the fence with it. But I think it saved NASCAR is what I will is how I will shift it.
You have to remember as well, though, at the end of it, the driver screwed everything up by his words. So
that too at the end of the iRacing part, but that didn't hurt NASCAR. That just hurt the driver because what he said was that what he said was ignorant and it shouldn't have been said. That's just it goes to show how of a person he is on the inside. So
I'll give you that.
Yeah, that goes to show what kind of person he is on the inside. That didn't necessarily hurt NASCAR. If anything, with the riots and the protests and the removal of the flag and everything, and then what that guy said. Maybe that kind of helped motivate NASCAR and the riots and everything to remove the flag from the sport. And then, this past weekend, you see people like Alvin Kamara and other sports fans who didn't necessarily care for NASCAR actually come and give support for the sport because of certain moves like that. We could definitely go in different windy turns with that topic. But when we get back to the original question of, do we think NASCAR saved sports throughout the pandemic? I don't think it did. I'm out on that. However, I think that in another way, I think that the iRacing helped save NASCAR because if we would have gone this entire time without seeing that on TV, without having the iRacing taking up those time blocks on TV that originally would have had NASCAR races, I think that could have potentially hurt the sport altogether. So
definitely, I'll go ahead and give you that.
I'm out on that though. This next topic is a rough one. It is rough as the question is. With everything going on over the past couple weeks, we've seen some serious things happen, in our life. Over the past couple of weeks and over the past few months with the whole pandemic, but things have gone from bad to worse. And Drew Brees happened to make a very insensitive type of statement that most people know about. And do you think as a result of what he said, even though he said it years ago before all this happened, and his way of defense this time was it was out of context, which he still shouldn't have said it at all. It was just totally wrong for him to say it, especially now. Do you think Drew Brees has a rough road ahead for the 2020 season based on his comments that he made recently?
I made some comments, made a few memes about Drew Brees, nothing intentional, nothing too harmful. Just was, trying to point out that I didn't think his comment was important at this time. However, I think that if you look at Drew Brees and you look at the situation from last year, passing for nearly 3,000 yards and 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in only 11 games of action. I believe that his team rallies around him. I believe that he makes concessions in the community as he has done before. And I believe that in this year, 2020, 2021, I think Drew Brees breaks Peyton Manning's single season record of 5,477 yards and passes for 5,500 yards and has an outstanding season. He has Emmanuel Sanders now. He has a very underrated Maurice Harris coming from the Washington Redskins, who is not utilized correctly. You still have the talent to tie in. So I think Drew Brees comes back strong, and I think he really does damage the NFL this year. So I don't think it's going to be rough. I think he's already gone through the roughest periods. I think people realize there's bigger fish to fry than Drew Brees.
So Robb is out.
I'm out.
I'm actually in on this one.
Woo!
With Drew Brees, in his 40s, they've been talking about the cliff for Tom Brady for so long now, and he hasn't really met it yet. We could actually see him actually really see the cliff for him this year. But let's stick on the Drew Brees topic. Based on the things that he said, even though he's very good at corralling that locker room together, there's still 31 other teams in the NFL. Okay, you can say whatever you want as an apology, and hide behind a veil of what you've done in the past. And it could always go in vice versa. Things that you've done bad in the past, you try to do good things now. And it takes a lot more good to do now and in the future to wipe away a lot of that negativity. Although in Drew Brees' case, he's done a lot of good, and this is his first real slip up, okay, as far as something coming out of context or he's saying something that could possibly be out of context, whether he meant it a certain way or he didn't. There's still 31 other teams in the NFL that may not forgive him, and defensive players that need some type of fuel to motivate them to get to that next level, to get their team over the hump, okay? So there's going to be teams out there potentially of different cultural backgrounds, okay, whether they're Hispanic, Caucasian and still take it a certain way, African American, either one, they're going to take it as some type of motivation coming against him, just like people were taking it as motivation when Colin Kaepernick was taking the knee into trying to find ways to get him out of the NFL, which was still wrong. They're going to use it in a similar light, but to go against him, because nobody's going to kick Drew Brees out of the NFL. He's going to retire. And I feel like that's why I can't 100% agree with your having a breakout season. I feel like he's going to get banged up this year, and this is it for him. You've got Jameis as the backup. Jameis Winston comes in there. It could be a similar situation to the Teddy Bridgewater situation where Drew Brees gets hurt, Jameis comes in, and then he gets to prove that he is an elite quarterback like Jameis has been talking about over the past couple weeks. I feel like there's a very good chance that I don't think that Drew Brees gets hurt, but I don't think that there's a good reason – I don't think he's going to play well enough to stick around after 2020. That's just my opinion because of everything going on.
I think, like I said, I believe that the New Orleans Saints, that they're going to rally and they're going to bring some heat this year that we haven't seen in a long, long time. Just warning people now. I was kind of out on the Saints a little bit coming into the season, and I really wasn't too in on them. But, it's got a crazy feeling, man. Those Saints, I mean, you're motivated. You got Tom Brady in the division. You got all these other good teams. I got a feeling that Drew Brees is going to do some damage. So watch out for him.
If he's going to, and I'll switch it up with this, even though I said that I'm in on this one. If Drew Brees is going to have a phenomenal season and he's going to get a Super Bowl or get to the Super Bowl again, this has to be it. This is his chance to do it, because Tom Brady is going to be trying to figure things out in Tampa Bay with different, pieces around him. The only thing he's got familiar around him is Gronk. But you got a new coach. This is going to be a very learning curve type of season for them. I don't think that means that Tom Brady's going to be done after this year. I think that they're going to have a decent year. They're not going to get as far as what everybody thinks that they're going to get. And then the following year, 2021, Tom Brady's going to have a light-up season, get them to the Super Bowl, potentially maybe win, and then he's going to hang it up. But if Drew Brees is going to get to the Super Bowl, and especially with Tom Brady in the division, he's got to do it this year. And that's why both of us are against each other on this one, and we have different views on this. So it's going to be very interesting to see how 2020 pans out for the New Orleans Saints. for all-time family of NASCAR, do you believe that the Pettys are the all-time family of NASCAR? Are you in or out on that?
You know, even though Richard Petty has 200 career wins, even though Lee Petty, who the most wins between them, is 254. I know they got other members, but those to me are most prevalent members. I have to go the Earnhardt family. I have to go out because we look at the Earnhardts. A lot of people think that in 2001, that when Dale Earnhardt Sr. died, that's when NASCAR died. Even though Jeff Gordon was still there, and I'm a huge Jeff Gordon fan, a lot of people think that's when it died. And then you had Junior. Junior came in. You know, he had so many. He had like maybe I think he had like 80 wins. He had like 5 championships. Oh, I forgot. He only had 26. He only had 26, and people loved him. Like every time you talk about NASCAR, what's Junior doing? What's Junior doing? Did Junior win today? No, he placed top 5, but he did all right. So when you have a family like that who is, especially Junior, who everybody talks about him, he helped with the marketing, the PR, merchandise, helped growing the sport because of his name. I have to give it to the Earnhardts, unfortunately.
So you're giving it to Dale Earnhardt Jr. because he piggybacked off of his dad's name. The only difference was because there was a junior at the end and not a senior.
Yes, and
Okay.
because the fact is, Drew Willingham, is that, you know, back in the old days, I had people back who told me, they said, well, NASCAR used to be this and that because that and that and that and this. Well, look, I don't care about all that, okay? All I know is that when it comes to PR, marketing, when it comes to the growth of the game, you hear the Earnhardt name first. You hear Dale Earnhardt Sr., who had a lot of wins, and then you had Dale Earnhardt Jr., who didn't have that many.
Well, now that those people that you've been talked to are pretty delusional, I'm going to give you my take. I am in on this.
Woo!
Because
of course
if you go back to 1949, that was when the first time a Petty was in NASCAR. So my man has got to put his shades on because what I'm about to say is going to be so bright, he's got to shield his eyes. Since 1949, there's been a Petty in NASCAR. Richard's father, Lee Petty, started racing in 1949. The following decade was when Richard Petty started racing and was racing up until 1992. He won 7 championships he won 200 races. Between the two of them, what did you say? They had 224 victories. And Buddy Earnhardt, old little Dale Earnhardt Sr. and little Dale Earnhardt Jr., the two of them, well, they got a little over 100. What did you say, 108 earlier when we were talking about?
102, damn it.
102, my bad. So the Earnhardts have 102. Petty has, between father and son, the first two of the generation have 224. Now, we don't even get further into it. There's just the top 2 of the family tree. Then you've got Kyle Petty, who is Richard Petty's son, who raced for multiple decades as well. Almost won the 1992 Winston Stock Car Championship, okay? And then his son, Adam Petty, was a racer who had very, very high hopes and expectations for, but then there was a tragic wreck in 2000 that, you know, he passed away from. He didn't make it. We don't know what would have happened if that never happened and he would have raced this entire time. He could have been what they all thought Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be. Oh, wait, but my bad. He had 8 championships and all those things that you were talking about that didn't ever happen. That only happened if you played a NASCAR video game and you were the driver, not Dale Earnhardt Jr., okay? So that's why I am in that the Pettys are the number 1 family of NASCAR.
You know something, like I said, from a PR standpoint, and all that stuff, you know, it's the Earnhardts. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. Because back in the day, there was a man by the name of Jeff Jarrett who had a song, and I'm going to sing it for you guys. I love country music. Richard Petty is still the king. I hate rap. So you know what? I'm in. Woo! I changed my mind.
Oh yeah!
I changed my mind because you know what? At the end of the day, Richard Petty's still the king, and I hate rap.
That's going to be the first time in history of this show. The first time in the history of this show where somebody has said that they were out and then they were in. They changed their mind during the topic. So yes, I get the ultimate victory here.
That's the first time you ever heard a black dude singing Richard Petty, you still the king.
Patrick Mahomes breaks a record of, all-time valuable contracts for whatever position in the entire NFL and gets a 10-year contract for the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you in or out on this?
I'm definitely in, Drew. Woo! And I say I'm in because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You look what he did in the Super Bowl. He came out. He struggled against a great defense in the San Francisco 49ers. However, at the end, what did he do? He got down the field, beat Richard Sherman on a long pass, was able to get his team down. They won the football game. It kind of can be questionable whether he was the MVP or not. But just look at it. They trailed all playoffs long. How many quarterbacks do you know that could have done something like that? How many quarterbacks right now can you name that can come back down from 24-0? I mean, my gosh, Aaron Rodgers, when he was down, he was bickering, crying, I'm down. He was upset, hurt. He didn't do anything. He didn't show any guts or anything. In fact, let me say this. Last night, I looked back at the 2014 AFC Championship game when the Green Bay Packers were up 19-7 with 4 minutes to go. If that was Patrick Mahomes, he would have came back and he would have beaten Seattle because he is the Hall of Fame, Patrick Mahomes. So I'm definitely in. Let me say this as well, ladies and gentlemen. In 2027, when Mahomes has a $10 million base salary and a roster bonus of $49.4 million, he'll make $59.5 million in cash that year. But you know what? He deserves it. The Chiefs will probably be Super Bowl contenders this year. Andy Reid knows how to build teams up. I'm in.
You know what? That was probably the greatest defense of a choice in the history of this show, and we keep making history. Last episode, Rob was out, and then he decided to go in, and in this one, he sets history by the most energetic definition you could have to any topic we've had so far. And because of that, even though it already chose to be in, I am in. Woo! So with this, there are some probabilities of. It's a 10-year contract. It's a very, very long contract. Could be worth up to $500 million. That is $500 million. That's pretty big as far as value of contract. This will be a very, very – it's going to set the layer of contracts going forward. I don't see anybody else like Dak Prescott or anybody like that getting a 10-year contract. But his contract that may have been 4 or 5 years may go up to 7 when he's negotiating for this. At least give him a 7-year contract because Mahomes is a lot younger. He's only 24 years old, 25, if that. And he's already got a Super Bowl ring, an MVP, and a Super Bowl MVP. And he got this kid has been nothing but storybook, kind of like when Ken Griffey Jr. was 19 in the MLB and set his path. It's kind of like it reminds me of what Ken Griffey Jr. was to baseball when the strike happened, and Ken Griffey Jr. was what saved the baseball right after the strike. People want to talk about the home run race of '98. Ken Griffey Jr. saved baseball when the strike happened. And I feel like Mahomes, even though he's not really necessarily saving football, he's been a game changer. I'm in because I feel like he deserves that contract. I just hope he remains healthy throughout that 10-year contract.
I just have to correct you on one thing, Drew. When it comes to the money, not all of it, you have to break it. You have to really break it down. It's not going to get the full. For those out there who, have never gone out and bought a car and not ever bought a happy – any of you that have ever gone out there and bought a cheeseburger for 99 cents, think it was 99 cents, you're fools. So it's really like $1.10. I'm glad you know that now. Thank you for the history lesson, ladies and gentlemen, because I gave it to you. It's like this contract. He's not getting the whole $500 million. It's about taxes. It's not everything's not fully guaranteed, so they have to break it down over years. But I do think a guy like Zion Williamson, if he stays healthy, will definitely exceed this contract one day because all the TV money is going to continue to go up and go up, especially COVID now, especially with all this COVID stuff. Trust me, all the online stuff, people are going to want to watch more games at home, but they're also going to want to go to the stadium when it opens up. But you are going to get a lot more viewership at home because people are going to want to, quote unquote, stay at home. So the leagues will make plenty of money.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Our next subject that we have is actually about one of the Redskins quarterbacks. It's Alex Smith returns in prime form for 2020. What are your
Hell
thoughts
no.
on that one? You don't think so?
Hell no. I have nothing much to say. Listen, man, here's the thing. When you come off a compound fracture, right? Let me tell you this. Let me say this. I met Alex Smith, and let me just say he's a lot bigger guy than people think. He's a lot more muscular, all that stuff. He's an excellent guy. I love Alex Smith. I mean, this is a guy that came from Utah, went to San Francisco. People thought he was going to be a bust. He did very good there. Then he goes to Kansas City, gets some bad breaks. You know, this is a guy that's been to the NFC Championship game, a guy that's been in the Super Bowl and could have came in for Colin Kaepernick if he had continued to struggle. So this guy has been around. But I'm going to tell you something, man. When you go from a compound fracture to the infection he's gone through, did you see in that special what his leg looked like with those screws? I mean,
Ooh, that was gruesome. Ooh.
I do not want a man, and this is for his wife, his children, and his future grandchildren. I don't want them to have to see their dad or granddad, you know, having to walk around, or maybe not even be able to walk anywhere if he comes back, especially on that field in Washington and Landover, Maryland. I think that Alex Smith should come back, but I think it should be more of a situation where he's consultant, and then he should try to go into more of the offensive coordinator role in the future. Maybe even go back to Utah and coach, or go back and get with Urban Meyer when he ultimately, in my opinion, goes back to college football and coaches USC, in my opinion, in a few years.
Okay, that's a pretty bold prediction on that one. I'm also out on this subject too. I don't feel like he returns at all for 2020. Maybe on the sidelines, like you said, to kind of help these young quarterbacks, because you got Dwayne Haskins, who's in his second year. They trade for Kyle Allen from Carolina, which Ron Rivera is familiar with him. I feel like having a presence like Alex Smith on the sideline to kind of help, you know, coach these guys. Alex Smith is mainly known as a game manager, and these quarterbacks that the team has on their roster right now are not game managers. He can help them out dramatically. Yes, they've got talent. They can fling the ball, they can run, but they don't know how to read defenses all that well. They don't know how to manage the game, which Alex Smith, over the course of the past decade, has done very well at. So, you know, and he had the Redskins in first place and was playing very well up until the point that he went down in that game against Houston that I was there for, and it was rough. Like, it was, you know, going there as my first game as a media representative and watching my team that I grew up watching, and it was some painful years, a lot of painful years growing up watching this team. But however, once a fan, always a fan of the team, you know. So you go there, you're excited, boom, Alex Smith down. That was an emotional day for everyone, not just for fans, but for people that were just there on the media side. They were, you know, it's a tough thing to watch. And it's kind of like the Theismann injury in '85, where they kept replaying it over and over and over again. They were doing that on TV for this too, so you couldn't help to see it. But watching that documentary on ESPN brought a lot of different things to light. You know, we knew about the infections, but you got to actually see a behind the scenes look at what this man went through. I don't want to see him take another hit. I don't want him back on that field, period. You know, I'd much rather have him, you know, that's where we can agree on this, that he needs to be in some type of consultant role, helping these young guys out and teaching them how to play the game, which he could do very well at.
I think the Redskins need to retire number 11.
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
And because the reason I say that is this, because look at it. If Alex Smith, think about it, they were still in the game at that point. If Alex Smith is still the quarterback, they're beating Dallas. You know, they're beating other teams that they should have beaten. And just think about their morale went completely down after that.
Because they were winning that game when he went down. They had the lead. Yeah.
They had the lead, everything. And they had, and their morale, everything went down. You remember before that, the defense was flying high. And after that, you know, everything just went down. He is a leader. He's always done well everywhere he's gone. And the Redskins could have been very successful. Just imagine if what that could have happened if he had still been there the year after. They wouldn't have had to have drafted Dwayne Haskins. They could have got themselves another top player along with getting Sweat at the same time. So definitely I feel like the Redskins owe him so much, because for him to try to get back the way he is and for his greatness, for what he's done in his career, then I definitely think that's the token they should give to him.
it's a miracle that he's not only doing what he's doing right now with those workout videos, which he looks great, by the way, in great shape. It's a miracle he's just walking again, period. Because they were talking about possibly amputating that leg in that documentary at one point. Like his wife, was going through all the stuff while he was, out basically in a medically induced coma to an extent. He was in and out. Like she had some tough decisions to make, and for her to stay strong and for them to save his leg and for him to even have a small chance to come back, it's a miracle. So it goes to, he's the first case that would ever happen to have a compound fracture like this and to come back to the game. So
and if anybody criticizes him, go look at what a compound fracture is.
Round 3.
The Washington football team will make the playoffs this season, regardless of starting out with a 2-6 overall record.
Hell no, I'm out.
Get the f*** out of here!
Have you seen this team? Have you seen the type of things they've been doing? Taylor Heineke, I think he got a beer, what was it, like a beer deal with Heineken, I think. And, it was all good. And, he was riding high after they beat the Falcons. This guy, I believe, has got 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Landon Collins can't decide whether he's a linebacker or a safety. There's discombobulation. Ron Rivera, Cam Newton's not coming through that door. As I said on this show a few years back, I think it was on one of the shows I did here with Drew. Cam Newton's not coming through that door, and you're looking like a very average coach. I like Ron Rivera, but he's looking like an average coach. This team has a lot of work to do, and I love the Washington football team's defense. But they got to start living up to the billing, man. That defense is not doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm out right now, man, unless they get some improvements.
Yeah, there was so much hype with Jack Del Rio taking over this defense. And last year, they looked really well. If this was this time last year, I would say that, yes, I believe that they could make the playoffs. And they did. It was with a terrible record, but they still made the playoffs on a terrible division.
Are you in and out, Drew?
With that said,
Drew, I'm hearing a bunch of stuff in your mind. I know you know this team very well. Are you in and out, my friend?
I was about to get to that. This team, as a fan for the past, 18 months, it has been terrible.
As an
analyst, going through the experience as an analyst and also as a closet fan of the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. It is a travesty. I am out.
Get the f*** out of here!
I believe that they will not make the playoffs this year. Come on, they are 2-6. I don't care how much of a fan I am. I don't care how much of a past fan I am to have a half sleeve dedicated to them. It doesn't matter. They S-U-C-K. They are terrible. Jack Del Rio, you should be ashamed of yourself. You came into this team last year as the defensive coordinator, and everybody was giving you so much praise. But you know what you have to do when you do something good? You have to follow it up with something else that is good when it comes to the sport of football and in life in general. I am out on this team, the Washington football team, the Washington team of football, WTF. What is going on with this team?
I have to ask you a quick question, really, really quick. Do you think they go after a quarterback after they missed on Justin Herbert and a few other quarterbacks in the last few years? And I was a big Chase Young guy, but man, they should have went quarterback now, man.
And this is not just from a fan of the team for 3.5 decades. I like Taylor Heineke. I think he needs more time to develop as the starting quarterback. He needs to go into an offseason as the starting quarterback. I mean, look, Fitzmagic came in. They gave him $10 million. Imagine if they would have gave that $10 million to some other position that they really needed, like the offensive line.
The Dolphins gave Jay Cutler $10 million. What the hell is your point?
Fitzpatrick's better than Jay Cutler. All Jay Cutler knows is how to do reality TV shows.
Next topic. I'm done with this. Next topic. Next topic. Go to the next damn topic. Go to the next damn topic.